Vivek es miembro distinguido y profesor del Carnegie Mellon University's College, director de investigación de Duke University's Pratt School of Engineering y miembro del Claustro de Maestros de la Facultad de Emprendedurismo de Singularity University. Es el autor del libro The Immigrant Exodus: Why America is Losing the Global Race to Capture Entrepreneurial Talent, el cual fue reconocido como el libro del año en el 2012 por el importante periódico The Economist. Es altamente reconocido como mentor de un gran número de exitosos emprendedores en Silicon Valley, asesor de diversos gobiernos y columnista del Washington Post, Bloomberg Business Week y The American Society of Engineering Education Prison Magazine. Les pedimos un fuerte aplauso para recibirlo.
There are a lot of business executives in this room, but my lecture is for the students, because they're the future of Mexico. The business executives are the past, right? They're beyond hope. So because students are the ones who are going to transform Mexico. You know, I grew up in a middle-class Indian family. My parents were born in India. I lived there when I was young, and then my father was in the diplomatic service, so we were always moving around. So my background is like that of many students in this class. When I was young, when I went to school, when I went to college, my goal was to join a big company. I wanted to join IBM, for example. In those days, we had no opportunity to become entrepreneurs or to do big things. Students would join big companies, they would work there for 10 or 20, 30 years, and then maybe they would move on to do something else. Today, the opportunities are absolutely amazing. You people can do what the same thing that the old business executives can do now. You can do what governments can do. You can build world-changing technologies, you can change the world. You can not only uplift Mexico, but you can uplift the world. The impossible has become possible. The future really belongs to you, and it's your job to uplift it. I'm going to give you a crash course in the future of technology on what's become possible and why I say this. Why I say that the opportunities for you are much different, and you have to take your role now in uplifting the country. Computing is advancing exponentially. You know, when I graduated in the 1970s, then we had gray supercomputers. Gray supercomputers used to cost tens of millions of dollars. They could not be exported from America to Mexico, to India, to Russia. They could not be exported from America. They were extremely, extremely expensive, very big, very bulky. You know something? This device over here is 40 times more powerful than the gray supercomputers were. 40 times more powerful. And no one stopped me at the border, not even Donald Trump. I could carry it across, and this supercomputer was in my pocket. This is how computing is advancing. And what this is doing is that everything that computing touches is also now advancing exponentially. That you have now artificial intelligence, robotics, network sensors, synthetic biology. Practically every field is now on this exponential curve, and exponential technologies are converging. When technologies converge, the impossible becomes possible. You can wipe out entire industries, you can build new industries, and you can solve the grand challenges of humanity. I'm going to be showing you. Look at this chart over here. This chart shows you how technology has advanced. It took thousands of years to go from agriculture to pottery to mathematics. In the last 100 to 200 years, we have seen advance after advance after advance. We don't seem to understand this. We don't seem to understand the difference between linear and exponential. This is the path that technology is on today. Everything is getting cheaper. I mean, look at the things on your smartphone. The Sony Walkman, alarm clocks, TV sets, game controllers, video conferencing, GPS. They're all apps on your smartphone. You download them for free. And we keep downloading more and more apps, more and more features for our smartphones. They're free. This is how technology is advancing. And then you have unlimited information available to you. Before, if you wanted the latest scientific knowledge, the latest medical knowledge, you had to be up north in America. Today, the same knowledge is available to you at the same time. You can now read the latest scientific breakthroughs. You can read the latest medical journals. You can follow the leading scientists. Everyone is on social media. All of the knowledge of the universe is available to you just like that. It's for free. You can contact anyone you want to contact. The world has become a smaller place. All of this happened over the last 5 or 7 years. We look at how technology is progressing. The first digital camera, for example, came out in 1975. It cost $10,000. It weighed 4 kilograms, and it was 0.01 megapixel. Today, what you have in your pocket is 1 billion times better. America had a big strategic advantage over the world. It had nuclear missiles. It could destroy anyone, anywhere in the world. The missiles were guided by accelerometers and gyroscopes. They used to cost millions of dollars, and they weighed 50 to 100 pounds. Today, you have chips in your smartphone that cost about $1 that are 1,000 times better. GPS, the first GPS came out in 1981, the first commercial GPS. It cost $120,000 and it weighed 53 pounds. Today, you can go on Alibaba and buy a GPS for less than $1. That's 1,000 times better. See, this is important to you because today, you don't have to be dependent on yesterday's technologies. The same sensors, the same technologies that are available to scientists in the West are available to you in Mexico, and you can all afford them. Even students who are relatively poor can afford to buy expensive sensors, and they can build amazing devices. If you took your smartphone apart, and I strongly recommend you don't do this, you would find in it sensors that weighed hundreds of pounds and cost hundreds of thousands of dollars just 30 or 40 years ago. This device over here is powerful enough for you to build the most advanced scientific equipment you can possibly imagine. And look at the impact on different fields, for example, medicine. Here's what's happening with medicine. Now you can get expensive medical tests for practically free. You can go to the Apple store and buy all sorts of add-ons to your iPhone. You can buy glucose testing, you can buy heart monitors, you can buy all sorts of devices that cost practically nothing. When I say practically nothing, less than $100 US. For medical devices, that's very cheap. Heart monitoring. For $75, you can buy a heart monitor, which does EKGs. You know, if you go to the Apple store, you can see the wide variety of medical tests that are being done on smartphones now. Next step, we will have Band-Aids, we will have sensors in our clothing that monitor us 24/7. We will be uploading the information via our smartphones to the cloud, and then we will have sensors that go inside our body. Then we will take capsules that can go to a precise region of the body. See, right now when you get sick, the doctor typically prescribes antibiotics, and they kill everything living in the body. Imagine if you go to a precise region of the body and deliver medications over there. This is what's going to become possible in the 2020s. And then one of the most amazing advances today is telemedicine. You don't have to go to the doctor anymore. You can be setting up telemedicine clinics here in Mexico City and providing healthcare to the millions of Mexicans who have gone to America. You can have doctors here providing medical advice to people all over the world. You can be providing medical advice to poor people in Peru, in Nicaragua. You know, they all speak Spanish. So you could be having your excess capacity from hospitals being used globally and be helping people all over the world. This is what's possible today on your smartphones. Medicine is becoming digital and information technology. Remember what I said about what happens when something becomes information? It goes exponential. Medicine is going exponential. The impossible is becoming possible. Next step, when you have data, what do you do with data? You use artificial intelligence to analyze it. We will soon have artificial intelligence physicians. So imagine now having sensors in your clothing which upload information to the cloud via your smartphone, and now you're overweight. You're about to eat an extra piece of flan or a cheesecake, and suddenly Siri starts talking to you saying, please stop, you fat pig, you don't need it. But this is what will happen in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. It won't be Siri, it will be an app. And then the biggest advance of all is genomics. In the year 2000, there was a race between the US government and the scientist Craig Venter to sequence the human genome. The government spent $2.75 billion, the scientists spent $100 million to sequence the genome. It was big news. What cost $3 billion then costs $800 now. Within 3 or 4 years, we will have iPhone cases that do complete human genome sequences. The importance of this is that we have become data and our doctors are becoming software. And guess what? The same technology advances that are available in America are available in Mexico. The same technologies, the same tools, the same artificial intelligence, the same computers. Never before has it been possible to do what you could do in North America in Latin America. Now students can do it. Literally, you could be building genomics-based applications which transform healthcare. The problem in Silicon Valley is that the people there can only think in terms of Silicon Valley. To them, Silicon Valley is its own country, its own world. Everything revolves around Silicon Valley. This is the American mindset, but much, much worse. Silicon Valley is not solving the problems of Latin America. In fact, they don't even know Latin America exists. When you talk to people in California, they think coming to Mexico, you need bulletproof vests. When I tell people I'm coming to Mexico City, they warn me. It's like, are you sure you're going to Mexico City? It's so unsafe over there. And I'm saying it's more unsafe for me to go to Newark or Harlem in New York City or Chicago than it is to go to Mexico City. It is safer in Mexico, in most of Mexico, than it is in parts of America. But they don't understand that, so they're not developing technology for Mexico and Latin America. This is an opportunity you have to take the same ideas and the same technologies and now to develop them for Mexico. And you can do the same thing in healthcare. You can be developing Spanish versions, Latin American versions of the same technologies. It's a very, very big opportunity for you. Next step for medicine, it's going to be genomic medicine, where instead of going to the doctor asking you a series of questions and prescribing antibiotics, your medicine will be prescribed based on your genetic profile, which is your genome, and then your microbiome, which is a very sophisticated system within your body, and then your medical history and your lifestyle and environment. This is how medicine will be in the late 2020s. Again, these advances could be developed for Latin America today in Mexico itself. These are things students can be doing, by the way. You have to just learn the key technologies and then start doing experiments. You'll be amazed at what's possible. Next step. Do you remember a TV series called $6 Million Man? Steve Austin? My prediction is that Steve Austin becomes a reality in the year 2030, 14 years from now. And Steve Austin is not the $6 million man, he's a $6,000 man. Why? Because everything is becoming cheaper. We will have bionic hearing, bionic eyesight. This beautiful woman over there, Amanda Buxtel, had a skiing accident 20 years ago. She is now walking around, she wants to go parasailing, she wants to go hiking, using an exoskeleton. Give it 10 years and the exoskeletons will become so small and so powerful that you will just snap them onto your body and you'll be able to now climb mountains. Within 10 to 15 years, bionics is happening. Robotics. When I was young, I used to dream about having robots. Rosie, there's a Mexican version of Rosie, that's what she calls Rohina. So I used to dream about having these robots, okay? And I grew up, very disappointed because all I got was some vacuum cleaners that go round and round. The robots never came. What went wrong over here? Why didn't we get these amazing robots? Because to build Rosie would have required supercomputers. The computing power to do voice recognition and face recognition would have required a supercomputer. Then the sensors necessary to detect what was happening around you were very big and very bulky. Remember the movie cameras that the film studios had? They were massive. You needed those to build robots. But guess what? You have them in your pocket right now. You have 40 supercomputers in your pocket. And all the sensors you need are commonly available. We can build Rosie now. Here's an amazing opportunity for Mexico. Getting into next generation manufacturing. Because with robots today, you can do manufacturing. And it's become cheaper to manufacture in Mexico than in China because of robots. Robots are becoming cheaper, they're becoming more powerful. They're dexterous enough to do circuit board assembly. The old line manufacturing will go away. Robotic manufacturing is the future. Now America has trillions of dollars of manufacturing that's been sent overseas. America wants to bring it back. The trouble is that American industry doesn't know how to do it. American industry is as ignorant as any other executives anywhere in the world are. They have no clue about advancing technologies. So what if now in Mexico you set up automated robotic manufacturing plants? You became America's manufacturing hub. You bought the robots, you built your own robots, and you built robotic manufacturing in Mexico. You would build a $1 trillion industry within 5 years. $1 trillion industry could be built here within 5 years. And not even Donald Trump would want to stop that, because he would rather have manufacturing here than in China. And you would be servicing American industry. This is a $1 trillion opportunity for Mexico that you can take advantage of today. How complex is it? Children are building robots. First Robotics, which is also in Mexico, children build robots. So if you think, if your students think it's too complicated, then go and find your nephews or your nieces or your younger brothers and sisters and have them teach you. You can build very sophisticated robots here in Mexico City, and they do not cost much. They're affordable. Yes, that's going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry, but I'm not going to comment on it on here. Chauffeurs. Where I live, we already have self-driving cars. I drive a Tesla Model S. When I get on the highway, I put it into autopilot, it drives itself. Within 2 or 3 years, we will have cars that don't have human drivers. Within 5 or 10 years, they will come to Mexico, and we will take the Mexico City traffic, we will take entire highways and turn them into self-driving, because you will not need speed limits, they will not crash into each other, they will reduce pollution, there will be electric cars. So this is a way to save Mexico City from itself, is to have self-driving cars. And then drones. About 10% of the traffic here is for delivery. Imagine if you could be doing drone-based delivery. Here at the university you could be building drones to do local delivery. The technology for building drones is now being made in China. You could be making it in Mexico, you could be building solutions here to do delivery between local businesses and reduce the traffic on the cities. 3D printing. 3D printing is still slow, it's still messy, but give it 5 years and you'll have 3D printers that can print anything in plastic, glass, titanium. This amazing technologies will become available for the next 5 or 10 years. You need to learn these and master them, because there's a lot of creativity in Mexico. You could be applying that creativity to doing 3D printing. If you go back to the ancient structures we have here, amazing, beautiful architecture. You had amazing artisans in Mexico. Well, what if you taught them 3D printing? You taught them basic computing tech. They're going to have all their smartphones. But if you taught them how to do design, they could be servicing the world. Another $1 trillion opportunity for Mexico. 3D printed cars, 3D printed houses and buildings. You could be now experimenting with 3D printing technologies and be creating buildings in Mexico. They're doing it in China, they're doing it in Portugal, they're doing it in Italy, they're doing it all over the world. Why not in Mexico City? You folks are not less capable than these people are. You're smarter than many people are. So why don't you now have these advanced technologies here in Mexico City? These are things which I want to have the university teaching. To set up labs over here, to start teaching the curriculum, and to start now uplifting Mexico. This is what's possible. This is what I'm going to talk to you about. NASA is even dreaming bigger. They're dreaming about printing space colonies on Mars and in the moon. So before we go and colonize them, we 3D print our buildings on Mars. This is what NASA is dreaming about. This is a year of virtual and augmented reality. I don't know if you have any Oculus or Vive headsets here, but the university should be having virtual reality headsets here, because virtual reality is the future. It's amazing what you can do with virtual reality right now. The technology is still very clunky. It requires expensive computers, it gives you nausea, So by 2017, we're going to declare virtual reality a failure. 2018, version 3 is going to come out, and people are going to start using it and they're going to be amazed. By 2020, we will be living in virtual reality worlds. So what if now you started teaching virtual reality, augmented reality as a class at this university? Right? So what happens is that in the next 2 or 3 years, as it begins to explode, you have the leading virtual reality designers, artists, engineers here in Mexico City. You could be a global center for virtual and augmented reality. But what you have to do is to start realizing how exponential technologies work. You have to look forward. You have to realize how the technologies advance very slowly at first, and then they get very fast, and how disappointment turns into amazement. You have to understand exponential trends and what's possible. This is something which this university should be getting into in a very, very big way, because it's going to be leading to very high-paying jobs. You don't want to be working for big companies, you want to be starting your own companies, but even if you decided to work for big companies, if you learned about virtual reality and augmented reality, you would get salaries that are 2 or 3 times what regular salaries are. And then virtual assistants have started arriving. Devices that talk to you. Imagine now being able to program these to work in Mexico. Amazon is opening up their APIs. Google is going to be announcing a set of new technologies this week in which you can have open APIs. These will cost $100 to $200. What if you now started having your students connect these to all sorts of smart devices and now start building Mexican versions of these technologies? You can do this today. There's no reason to wait. And $100 to $200 per device, my friend can afford it. It's nothing. Now let's talk about saving the world, because this is really important to me. What people in America don't realize is the dire state of the planet. That they don't understand that when children come home in parts of Mexico, or in Peru, or in India, or in Africa, often they don't have electricity, so they can't study at night. That infectious disease, the waterborne viruses are the leading cause of infectious disease. All the problems they don't understand. But you know something? It's becoming possible to solve these problems. I'm going to give you examples of what's possible. First of all, energy. This is a map of the energy reserves of our planet. That big ball over there is solar. That tiny little ball is petroleum. Now Mexico is betting its future on the petroleum economy, which is as stupid as it could possibly be. Because that is small, that is big, we should be betting on solar. We should be now outfitting all of Mexico, all of Latin America with solar installations, because solar is the future. We get 1,400 times more energy every day from the sun than the entire planet consumes in a year. So here's what's happening. Solar prices are dropping exponentially. Installations are doubling. So what's happening is that we're in autopilot as far as solar goes. That every year the price is dropping about 15%. The installations are doubling every 2 years. So which means that it's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. I wrote an article for the Washington Post which said that we're only 14 years away from being able to generate 100% of the Earth's energy needs through solar. 14 years, 100% of the Earth's energy can be generated from solar. What's going to happen to the petroleum industry when this happens? What's going to happen to the petroleum industry in 2020 when solar costs half of what it does today? And suddenly you don't need petrol as much as you did before. It's going to go bankrupt. So you have to start now looking forward and looking at the opportunities that come because of this. Now the criticism that the petroleum industry has is that you can't store energy. But the cost of storage is also dropping exponentially. So by 2020, if you were building a new house in Mexico City, you would be having solar panels and storage. You would not be buying electricity from the grid. You would not need the government to give you electricity because you'll be independent. You could be starting to, in 2020, you could start going all over Mexico to the villages that don't have good energy and start now making them independent of the government. The most remote parts of Mexico could now be electrified with this technology. This is going to possibly be possible in the next 3 or 4 years because prices will be so low that everyone can afford them. And then water. One of the biggest problems on this planet is that we don't have clean drinking water. You know something? The 2 solutions I've been involved with, one is Dean Kamen, the other one is Alfredo Zalesi in Chile. Watch this little video. Now, I'll tell you before you watch it that this technology has now become a Mexican technology. Rotoplas acquired this company that I'm going to show you about 4 or 5 months ago. And Rotoplas is going to be rolling out this entire technology across Mexico, across Latin America. Rotoplas, a Mexican company, may end up saving tens of millions of lives all over the world, and be the leading technology company in the world when it comes to water sanitation. This is what the technology is.
The system works by compressing contaminated water and then feeding it into a chamber, where a quick change in pressure and exposure to an electrical field converts it into a plasma, a state of matter similar to gas. In a plasma state, the water is ionized, killing 100% of the bacteria and microbes it carries. According to Alfredo Salesi, a scientist at the center, the system can purify 35 liters of water in just 5 minutes, using the same amount of energy that it takes to run a light bulb.
Alfredo Salesi was a Chilean scientist who basically wanted to solve the world's water problem. He had a team of 12 people that built this technology. It took them about 2 years, and then they rolled it out in Chile. No one would believe in them because they were a Chilean company. This is what the problem even in Mexico is. No one believes in local entrepreneurs. So I ended up getting involved. I got Ricardo Salinas to invest in it. I got Ratan Tata to invest in it. I got some of my friends to invest in it. We turned around the company, and by the time we were done, there were 6 installations in Santiago, which the president of Chile inaugurated. Now, Alfredo did not have the funds to be able to scale it up, and it was very frustrating dealing with the problems in Chile. So basically, Rotoplast came along and made an offer to the company, and I said, let's do it. So Rotoplast is now going to be taking this global. Again, a Mexican company is going to be saving the world. This is the beauty of technology today. It was built in Chile. Now it's going to be commercialized in Mexico, and it will impact the entire world in a very positive way. And then education. In India alone, there are 200 million children that won't receive education because they're left out. But look at what happened with mobile phones. There are 1 billion mobile phones in India now. Tablets are getting dirt cheap. Imagine what's going to happen with tablets and smartphones. When you think of Silicon Valley, you think it's a rich, elite place. Silicon Valley is a disgusting place because there are 2 Silicon Valleys. You go to Palo Alto, houses, the cheapest house there is $3 million. You go to East Palo Alto, it looks like a depressed part of Mexico. It's mostly Hispanic, Latino, illegal immigrants who live there, and the children don't have access to education. I was very frustrated when I went there. I said, how can it be that you're in Silicon Valley and you have dire poverty here? You have children who don't have education. This is not the third world country. This is Silicon Valley. So I did an experiment. What I did was that I imported cheap tablets from India, from New Delhi. I got AT&T to give me SIM cards. I got Level Playing Institute to run a hackathon. We did 2 hackathons. 250 children, mostly Latino children, mostly Mexican children, and some black children. So we basically gave them tablets, internet access. We taught them how to code. We taught them how to do hackathons. At the beginning of the first weekend, this is 250 children. At the beginning of the first weekend, we did 2 hackathons. I asked the children in the audience, how many do you believe you can be a Mark Zuckerberg? Everyone laughed at me, they ignored me. Then we spent a weekend teaching them. We had volunteers from all over Silicon Valley teach them how to code, how to build apps. And then we had them brainstorm on solutions for solving their own problems. On Sunday evening, I came back on stage and said, how many of you believe you can be a Mark Zuckerberg? Everyone rose their hands. One of the students said, I want to be a Jose Zuckerberg. But this is how we're able to change the lives of 250 children in Silicon Valley. Now, why can't you do this in Mexico? Why can't you now take the smartphones and the tablets, which now cost practically nothing? They now cost less than $100 for sophisticated technology. And why can't you be uplifting your poor communities here? Teach them how to code, teach them how to write apps, teach them how to uplift themselves. There's no excuse over here. You have more poverty here than you had in Silicon Valley. You have more problems over here. Why don't you now start educating the youth all over Mexico in building apps, not only for themselves, but for the rest of the world? This is possible today. Now let's talk about healthcare. I'm taking you to New Delhi now. When you go to the hospitals, you have very expensive medical equipment. It costs thousands of dollars. It costs tens of thousands of dollars for equipment. In the USA, it costs $1,000 for tests. One of my friends was a doctor at Arizona State University, a biomedical engineer. He noted that the sensors were dirt cheap. The sensors I talked about, the equipment was very expensive. He tried getting funding to build a device over there that could do the same thing that the expensive medical equipment could do. He couldn't get it. So he went back to New Delhi and he built a device that does 32 different medical tests. A $600 device that can do the same medical tests as at the hospitals. What he did was that he plugged the sensors into tablets used the computing power of the tablet, wrote his own software, and the device is identical to the expensive medical equipment. Here's what the impact was. He persuaded the government of Jammu and Kashmir in the north of India to let him test it in the villages there, because the poor people there don't have medical coverage. When women get in Mexico City or in New York or in Palo Alto get pregnant, they go to the doctor does a medical test. If they have any disease or any protein deficiency, they get treated immediately. They don't die. They do in remote parts of Mexico because you don't have health coverage there. So it would take 14 days for a woman to go from clinic to clinic to clinic to get tested when she got pregnant. With this device, what took 14 days took 40 minutes. What used to cost thousands of rupees cost hundreds of rupees. That's in other words, we're talking about $5, $10 for complete medical test. Complete all the testing you would possibly need. The price dropped tenfold. So they did a study in one village in Punjab, where 100 women were dying every year from preeclampsia. That's a disease that pregnant women get. When they introduced this device, there were 1,000 women that got pregnant roughly. They tested every one of them. They found 120 to be preeclamptic. They treated them all. 0 deaths that year. A $600 device saved 100 lives in one village alone. This technology I'm taking to Peru. The group of Branca has already been testing it in their hospitals. We're taking it to Brazil. I'm trying to persuade Carlos Slim or one of the Mexican industrialists to bring it to Mexico. I want to take it all over Mexico and now provide it to all the villages. All over Mexico City, you have small labs that can provide free medical tests. Because when the device costs $600 and each test costs about 30 cents, you should not have to charge for it. You should be able to provide it as a public service to all of Mexico. This could save millions of lives in Mexico and uplift the population. This technology is available, right? I joined the board. I'm going to get my friends to invest in this company. We're going to take it global, and this is going to transform the world. This is what's possible. So now you have entrepreneurs doing what only governments and big research labs could do before. I'm talking about teams of 12 people, teams of 20 people now building world-changing technologies. Imagine what you can do here in Mexico City. I'm getting back to the same message. Imagine what's possible if you now start learning these technologies and thinking big about solving the problems of Latin America. Start thinking about Latin America. Forget about America. No one needs your technology there because they're rich and they're arrogant. Latin America can use technology, can use leadership. It has, twice the population of America, so many problems to solve. You could really be uplifting this entire continent today. All right, I went a little bit over time, but let's do some Q&A now. Questions?
We got some questions from the campuses. And the first one is, what advice you as an entrepreneur will give to our students, to our audience?
Well, the advice is that forget the past. Mexico was a third world country in the past. It can be more advanced than America in the future. You have an opportunity here to transform the world. You are equal now. This is the problem I have with Mexicans, that they have an inferiority complex. They think that they're lesser than the gringos are. You are not. Maybe there were problems in the past. Today you are not. You are on an equal footing when it comes to technology and innovation. Learn this stuff. Be bold. Be entrepreneurial. Think about changing the world. Take the risks. Don't feel inferior. You are equal to or greater than most people in the world. So use the technologies that are now available to you to uplift mankind.
For our engineers, what advice would you give them?
Learn the stuff I'm talking about. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are probably a dozen other key technologies you need to learn. I tried to cover as much as I could, as fast as I could. There's a lot to learn. All of the knowledge is available to you. Learn this stuff and get ahead of the curve. Look at the exponential curve. See what's like I talked about virtual reality and augmented reality. You have 1 or 2 years of advantage because everyone is going to become pessimistic about it. If you started learning it, you would now have the most valuable jobs you could possibly imagine in Mexico. So look at the exponential curves, look at the opportunities, and leap forward.
We in Mexico have a dismal rate of innovation. What will be your advice to change that?
Well, this is why we have to start it. This is why I came here today. It was because I want to inspire the people who really care. Everything technology that the scientists in USA have is available to you here in Mexico. Every technology.
Yeah, knowledge is a commodity, wisdom is not. So really appreciate you having that wisdom and sharing it with us. Thank you so much. nuestros estudiantes tomar esto y hacer algo al respecto. Esperamos que puedan emprender y de nuevo hacer de México todo lo que puede ser, transformar esta ciudad, esta sociedad en lo mejor que puede hacer. Muchas gracias.